She never imagined hope could feel this heavy. Miriam Adebola was 36, graceful in a quiet, almost invisible way. People in her street described her as the kind woman who always greets first. She had been married for 11 years to Kunal, a secondary school literature teacher who still held her hand like they were newlyweds. Their marriage was peaceful, affectionate, and full of laughter, except for one silence that grew louder with every passing year. They had no child. Doctors had examined Miriam repeatedly. Blood tests, scans, hormone checks. Every result came back normal. Kunal had been tested too. "There is nothing medically wrong," the doctor said gently, as if that would ease the ache. But every month, when hope rose and fell again, Miriam felt like her body was betraying her. In their community, childlessness wasn't just a private pain. It was a public verdict. Women whispered behind her back. Some avoided eye contact. Others were far too bold. "Have you tried spiritual help? My sister conceived after visiting a prophet in Ibadan. You shouldn't waste Kunal's destiny." The words followed her everywhere. The sentence that finally broke her came from her mother-in-law, spoken calmly over dinner. "A woman without children is like a tree without fruit." That night, Miriam cried until her chest hurt. Sleep refused to come. She scrolled endlessly on her phone, searching for distraction, until a video stopped her thumb. A woman stood on a brightly lit altar, tears streaming down her face as she held a baby in each arm. Behind her was a banner that read, "Mountain of Fire Streams, Prophet Samuel Akin, the Restorer of Destinies." "I was barren for 12 years, the woman cried into the microphone. "But after the man of God prayed for me, my womb opened." The crowd roared, "Amen. Fire." Miriam watched the clip again and again. She stared at her reflection in the dark screen, resting her palm on her flat stomach. Maybe God remembers me now," she whispered. She didn't tell Kunal. She told him she was visiting an old friend in Akure for the weekend. She packed lightly, just clothes, toiletries, and a small envelope of cash. On Saturday morning, she boarded a bus heading toward the outskirts of the city, her heart pounding between fear and fragile hope. The church complex rose beside a dusty highway. High fences, spotless white walls, large banners showing smiling mothers cradling babies. Ushers in matching navy blue uniforms welcomed her warmly. "What testimony are you trusting God for?" one asked. "Fruit of the womb," Miriam replied softly. The usher smiled knowingly. "You are in the right place." Inside, the air was thick with incense and sweat. People cried, rolled on the floor, shouted prayers into the ceiling. Miriam sat near the back, hands clasped tightly, trembling. Then Prophet Samuel appeared. He was tall, charismatic, dressed in flowing white. His voice commanded the room as he preached about Sarah, Hannah, Elizabeth, women who waited and were rewarded. Miriam felt every word sink into her bones. At the altar call, women seeking children were asked to come forward. Miriam joined them. As the prophet moved down the line, praying in low, urgent tones, he suddenly stopped in front of her. His eyes narrowed slightly. "Your case is not ordinary," he said. "There is something tying your womb spiritually." Her breath caught. "You must see me privately," he continued. "Deliverance must be deep." Fear flickered in her chest, but hope was louder. She nodded and followed. The sun had already dipped below the horizon when the service ended. An usher led Miriam behind the main hall, past a narrow walkway, to a small white building with a wooden sign that read, "Prophet's Counseling Quarters." The air felt cooler there, quieter. "Wait here," the usher said gently. "The man of God will attend to you." The room was dimly lit. Framed photos covered the walls, women smiling beside Prophet Samuel, holding babies, standing in hospital gowns, lifting Thanksgiving offerings. A large wooden cross hung above a neatly made bed. Miriam's heart raced. When Prophet Samuel entered, the room seemed to shrink around him. "Daughter," he said softly, closing the door behind him, "God has shown me troubling things." He asked about her dreams, her childhood, her parents, whether she had ever offended someone spiritually. Miriam answered everything honestly, though her voice shook. Finally, he sighed. "This kind of bondage cannot be broken casually." He instructed her to remove her shoes, then her earrings. The flesh must not block the spirit, he said calmly. Something felt wrong. But she silenced the doubt. She had waited too long to turn back now. He brought out a bowl filled with oil and poured it generously over her head. It ran into her eyes, blurring her vision. As she wiped her face, his voice changed, harder, colder. Hold her. Her heart stopped. Before she could move, the door opened again. A large man entered, older, broad-shouldered, expressionless. She recognized him as one of the senior church elders. "No, please," Miriam whispered. Strong hands forced her onto the bed. She screamed. The elder covered her mouth. The prophet placed a heavy book on her chest and began chanting words that did not sound like prayers. Her strength drained rapidly. The room spun. Then darkness swallowed her. When she lost consciousness, the chanting stopped. The door was locked. What followed was not deliverance, it was ritual. Before dawn, the room was cleaned thoroughly. Windows thrown open. Incense burned heavily. Whatever had happened there was erased with precision. Miriam did not leave the church alive. Meanwhile, Connell woke up Sunday morning uneasy. Miriam's phone went straight to voicemail. He told himself not to worry. By evening, fear set in. He called the friend Miriam claimed to be visiting. She never came, the woman said, confused. Panic flooded his chest. Connell checked their shared phone location history. The last signal stopped at Mountain of Fire Streams Church. Without hesitation, he drove there. Service was ongoing. Ushers smiled politely but denied knowing his wife. Prophet Samuel himself spoke calmly. "I'm sorry, my brother. I've never met her." Connell left, but something felt deeply wrong. That night, he went to the police. They listened half-heartedly. Maybe she left on her own. But Connell refused to be dismissed. And somewhere inside the church compound, guilt had already begun to wake someone up. For 2 weeks, the church continued as usual. Testimonies were louder. Attendance increased. Prophet Samuel preached about victory and sacrifice. But Joy couldn't sleep. Joy was an usher, young, quiet, obedient. Every night, she dreamed of Miriam standing near the altar. Her voice barely a whisper. "Tell them where I am." Joy would wake up soaked in sweat, heart racing. On the 15th night, she broke. She contacted Connell secretly and asked to meet him near the police station. Her hands trembled as she spoke. "They killed her," Joy whispered. "That night. I heard her scream. I saw them carry something wrapped in black behind the church." Connell collapsed to his knees. The police reopened the case. A search was conducted behind the compound. Freshly disturbed soil gave way quickly. They found her. Identified by her wedding ring. The nation erupted. Prophet Samuel was arrested. Evidence surfaced. Blood stains, confessions, records of other women who vanished over the years. Faith had been weaponized. Hope had been harvested. The courtroom was packed. Connell sat in the front row holding Miriam's photograph. Prophet Samuel no longer wore white. He stood in prison khaki, defiant. Witnesses spoke. Evidence stacked higher. When the verdict came, life imprisonment, no one cheered. Connell felt no relief. Only loss. He later moved away, carrying nothing but memories and a hard-earned truth. Not everyone who speaks for God speaks with God.